fighting for truth, justice, and the American small business owner. Here is Mark Montgomery.
Welcome to the Saturday edition and the second hour of Small Biz Talk Radio. I'm Mark Montgomery. We are live streamed. You can go to smallbiztalkradio.com. That's B-I-Z. smallbiztalkradio.com. Click on Listen Live, the Saturday edition, 1380 KTKZ AM. You can also email the show if you want to remain anonymous. You don't want anyone to hear your voice, which happens once in a while. You can email. I do monitor the emails throughout the show, and you can do that by going to mark@smallbiztalkradio.com and just send whatever comment or question you might have, and I'll get it on the air. You can also reach me personally, area code 916-685-0780. But most importantly, if you are interested in reaching the show during the show, call 1-888-923-1380. In studio, believe it or not, on Easter weekend, we have Beth West and Tom Bone. They're going to be talking about the Sacramento Employers Advisory Council annual employer seminar coming up on May 9th, being held at the Holiday Inn, Capitol Plaza at 300 J Street in Sacramento. And if you want to take down a number, I'm going to give it out, and I'm sure we'll give it out a few times during this next segment or two. And that is, you can call 265, that's area code 916-265-3837. Or even, I guess there's a cell phone here at 925-285-0790. And coming up at 9:30, we have Paul Griffith. He's with Lincoln High School Robotics Team coming up. They have a trip coming up to St. Louis, and we're going to be talking with Paul at 9:30. So I want to welcome Beth West and Tom Bone to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good morning. And my hat's off to you coming in here on a Saturday morning. A lot of people won't do that, and especially on an Easter weekend. So obviously you didn't have anywhere to go, right, Tom? Beth?
Well, I want to certify this is really a live show.
You know, it is, yes.
It is really a live show.
Yep. Nothing. Well, next week we're going to do a best of. You know, I'm going to take a little trip. And the only reason I'm doing that is because my wife kind of screwed up the dates. We were supposed to go this weekend, and she looked at the calendar wrong. So we ended up going next week, which actually is going to work out better because of traffic.
Right.
So anyway, you folks, you've got some issues that you want to talk about, and I'm very interested in these updates, and we're going to continue with these updates on into the future too, because these are important to small businesses, and so let's get started with that. So who wants to start, Beth?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Well, you know, as you said, we're here from the Sacramento Employer Advisory Council, and that is a perfect educational resource for small business with employment updates both on a federal level and a state level. We hold regular monthly or semi-monthly breakfast meetings with various employment law updates. And then twice a year, we have a full-day seminar. And as you mentioned, our full-day spring seminar is coming up on May 9th. Our speaker is Richard Simmons. He's an employment lawyer. It's not the exercise guru.
That's the first person I thought when I read that. I go, we better make that real clear.
No spandex.
So, yeah, no spandex. We won't be doing...
Heaven forbid.
We won't be doing... aerobics. Richard Simmons is actually an employment lawyer, a colleague in the same field as I am in, but he's from L.A., from the law firm of Shepard Mullen. Very well-known speaker, also produces books on employment development, mainly in the wage and hour field, and he has been doing this seminar for us for quite a few years now. He comes up. He does a full day of updates on what developments are in legislation and case law in wage and hour, and then some other employment topics. So we're looking forward to that. It's available to members and non-members of SCAC, which is the acronym for our organization. Members, it's $125. It's a full day with breakfast and lunch included, and non-members is $180. Okay. And with respect to SCAC, I can just tell you a little bit about it. It's part of the California Employer Advisory Council. They work in conjunction with state agencies like the Employment Development Department to help educate and keep employers abreast of compliance issues and developments in employment law. It's a great resource for small businesses because it's a value. Membership in our organization is only $95 for a corporate membership a year. You just can't find something like that.
No, that's very reasonable.
And $55 for an individual. And with that, you get, membership prices on our events. You get free legal and legislative updates. We have a legislative chair on the board of directors who's also an employment lawyer who I actually have worked with in the past, Krista Dunsweiler. Free monthly legal updates, quarterly newsletter, access to the EDD representative at every SCAC event. We have an EDD representative on the board with us. And then, of course, an opportunity to meet and network with fellow members, employment law attorneys, and other specialists in the field.
You know what I find, Beth, is that maybe I shouldn't say most, that's kind of a blanket statement, but many small businesses aren't even aware of the services they really should be tapping into. And the reason I bring that up is because this whole wage issue and overtime and all these things affect them, and they don't even know it. And all of a sudden they find themselves into some lawsuit, and they weren't even aware of some of these rules and laws.
You know, that is so true. And I have to say that the area of employment law that you just chose to mention is the most troublesome. You know, I'm an employment lawyer. I'm the chair of SCAC, of the board, but I'm an employment lawyer here in town, and I represent businesses, small to large. And the wage and hour compliance in California is the most onerous. It's much more onerous than federal law, and it's very hyper-technical. And the fact is it's so arcane that they do not permit the employer and the employee to really contract around a lot of obligations. So if the statute says that you're a non-exempt employee entitled to overtime, you can't contract around that with your employer. You can't say, oh, I don't want to pay the overtime, just give me some comp time. Unless you jump through some hoops with respect to how you would go about that. So you're absolutely right that a lot of employers don't even realize what the compliance obligations are until it's too late.
Well, this is one of the things that just kills small businesses in California, and that's why it's so onerous, is that you go into your own business, you think, wow, I'm free. You know, I'm my own boss, and only to find out, no, you're not.
You're not.
You know, you've got this big onerous government entity, and frankly, it's based off, and we don't have to go here in this subject, but it gets right back to abiding by the union rules that were pushed through, and then all of a sudden they want to apply that to everybody in the state of California, and that we lose the ability to compete, we lose the ability to be flexible with our own employees. And so we think we can. We own our own business. We should be able to do what we want. And in fact, we can't. And all of a sudden, if you abide by those laws, you may find out that you can't compete with somebody out of Arizona or or China, or wherever it may be, strictly because of that one rule.
That's absolutely right. I think California is one of the hardest states to be an employer just on the wage and hour issues alone, not taking into account various other laws that protect the employees and the employment relationship.
There's so many of them. We could spend weeks, on it.
The biggest, I think the biggest misperception out there that gets employers in trouble on wage and hour issues, this is just kind of a pattern that I see often and have over the years, is the assumption that if you pay someone a salary, they're exempt from overtime. And boy, does that get people in trouble.
Yes, I know. I have friends that have really gotten themselves into some messes with this. And things become retroactive. There are penalties. They own back wages. And it's just attorney's fees. It just becomes a huge mess. Matter of fact, it's put some of the people that I know out of business. Yeah. They've closed their doors. So,
Mark, I think one thing, I'm not an HR specialist. I'm an insurance broker that advises employers on insurance-related issues, and employment law is one of those, and I defer to Beth and her
Smart
professionals. Exactly. Because I want them to get advice. And I think one of the things that employers need to understand, and you touched upon it, is that they have a partnership. And the partnership is government and the rules and regulations. We're not going to change those laws and guidelines overnight.
Nope.
But we need to count on individuals like Beth and other HR professionals to give us the input to be able to navigate through the system. In that way, we can avoid the trials and tribulations of the legal issues that can arise unknowingly. And going from the gut isn't the way to do it. I can give you all kinds of examples. We don't have time for today.
Well, we're just going to go. We got to go to a break real quick here, Tom and Beth. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Montgomery, Small Biz Talk Radio. We're here with Beth West and Tom Bone from we're talking about Sacramento Employer Advisory Council and wage issues, etc. We'll be right back after the break. I'm Mark Montgomery. Welcome back to the show. You are listening to the Saturday edition of Small Biz Talk Radio. I'm your host, Mark Montgomery. You can reach the show at 1-888-923-1380. We're also live streamed, smallbiztalkradio.com. Click on the Listen Live buttons today. Of course, the Saturday edition. We're on 1380 KTKZ AM, and during the week, we're on Monday through Friday on Money 105.5 FM. That's the Wall Street Business Network, and from 7 to 9. And matter of fact, we have